So is it all in the mind? What actually goes on in a champion's head, in yours, when you sat alone thinking about your life? Who am I really? And what do I do to keep being a champion or to become one?
A man sometimes doesn't even know what he is capable of. Sometimes he just can't really understand himself until he achieves success or becomes famous, wealthy, and powerful. That is exactly when he discovers his true qualities. When he is limited in something, in money, in power, in everything that success eventually brings him, he doesn't really know how he's going to act. I believe it's wrong to just crown yourself king. From the very beginning, if you realize that what you're chasing isn't the most important thing in life, then it gets easier for you. And then, there are some people whose, let's say, ultimate goal is to be successful, powerful, and to make it big. At the end of the day, after all, we are not really such big, important people. We can't even control the basic need to go to the restroom. To some people, this will probably seem a bit crude, but we all go to the restroom, excuse my language. If we can't control even this, so what can we actually control in this life? Look how many people we know, how many great people have left this earth. It doesn't really matter how big, strong, or famous you are, how wealthy you are, champion or no champion. Either way, they put us all in the exact same grave. So I actually believe that every single person should have this realization that we are just not some kind of big, important people here who just decide and get to control everything. We don't get to do that. In my case, I was raised under the guidance of my father. My father was a coach, and my goal was always to prove to my father that out of everyone, I can show him he doesn't have to look very far. I'm right there, and under his guidance, I can become a champion. I looked up to him and followed his example. A kind of a challenge to prove to him that, look, I am right here, Father, and everything you teach, I will take it all in, zealously, worthily. I'll follow your program, do it right, and I will become a champion. And that was exactly the kind of goal I had, to prove it first and foremost to my father, and secondly to the entire world, that I can become the best wrestler or fighter.
What was it that gave you this strength? A hatred of losing or a love for winning?
I think it was the hatred of losing. Yes, definitely. Of course, you want to win, but for me, there was always this driver, no way, I am not losing, I was, how do you say it, addiction. I was fixated like when people have this addiction, but for me it was commitment, that I absolutely had to prepare perfectly for the fight. I couldn't miss any training sessions. And recently I came across this idea. There are athletes who simply want to win, and then there are some for whom victory isn't enough. They want domination. They want domination. And for that, what does a person have to do? They have to train. They have to grind morning and night. And that was a full morning training at 7 a.m. Then I came home to rest, and at 4 o'clock, we'd head to the gym. The training would start at 5 o'clock and end at 7. By 8, I'd be home. And by 11, I'd rest up. And yet, I kept thinking that something was missing. I know that I have a competition coming up in 40 or 30 days. And I would wake up and I'd be like, let me go to the sea. I'm gonna go down to the sea, do some running, some sprints on the sand, work out, and so on. And so many times, I ended up going out for a third training session as well. Sometimes Father would say, rest. In the morning, we're gonna have a heavy workload. But sometimes I wouldn't tell Father, I just go out at night, head out and train. At night, when everyone's asleep, when nobody's around, I'd grab one of my close friends, give them a call, have them pick me up, then hop in the car and head to DC. I'd train for an hour or an hour and a half, come back and crash. Next morning, I'd get up and start all over again. And just this routine, non-stop. That was just my approach. Everyone does it differently. I don't know, I just think it has to be in your head. You gotta want it incredibly badly.
So you believe that to be a champion, you have to train like that, you have to be that serious for the majority of people?
Let's say I believe that to be at the top tier, right? One of the best in the world. A person has to always be, a little bit, let's say just a little bit crazy, but in a good sense of the word. You have to be addicted to it and to want this incredibly bad. You have to take a fanatical approach to the training process. Just showing up and working out, that's what hundreds of thousands of guys are doing around the world. To stand out from that, from this crowd, let's say, who have the exact same goals as you do, to stand out from that, you have to take a fanatical approach to it.
All say they've never seen you broken in training, not even losing, really. But when you were young, did it ever happen?
Look, I've been in this grind since I was a kid. Wherever my father coached, there were always, let's take the year 2004, for example. My father put together the Dagestan national team for combat sambo and in mixed martial arts, which was called no holds barred fighting. There were training camps too. I was 15. It was the winter of 2004. And I was the youngest guy there. The others were, let's say, between 22 and 30, all active world champions. At that time, I was like 14, 15 years old. I wrestled with them, grappled, was in this uncomfortable environment for myself, where we always had the rule that the youngest has to do everything and he is always wrong. And I had to deal with that. They throw you, hit you again and again. You have to show up morning and evening, day after day. This place hardens you. They say how the steel was tempered. Steel isn't tempered for nothing. How many times do you have to strike the steel before it becomes a sword? That doesn't just happen by itself. Yes, you have to give the right motivation to kids with proper communication. My father was very good at this. I now realize, interacting with my own kids, how wise he was and how deeply he understood this. Because when a child is 8, 10 years old and when they are just beginning to form as a person, it is important to have the right approach. I now understand how far-sighted my father's approach was. First, he tried not to give me anything for free, and at other times he always told me, well, if you want it, you need to earn it. You want me to give you money just like that? There would be some work around the house and so on that I had to do. And I knew that encouragement would always be there. My father always had this kind of approach. He set a very strong personal example, very strong. And I really learned a lot from him.
Did you believe in yourself then?
I didn't want to lose. I just didn't. It never occurred to me that I could get hurt, that someone could hurt me, that I might break a finger somewhere. I never had that in my head, that I could get hit, that I'd get a scratch, and so on. I don't know if you can call it perfectionism. I didn't want to lose. And to not lose, I knew I needed to compete a lot and improve. Training is one thing, but competing is different. I understood that the more I competed, the more experience I would gain. I had to go through it. It was constantly on my mind. This understanding that I must compete a lot came to me at an early age, since I was 15, 16, 17, 18, and I never stopped thinking about it. So it was always in the back of my mind. I think Buvaisar said that these feelings, standing on the podium, becoming an Olympic champion, you only feel them in that moment when they announce you. You step onto the podium, that's it. They announced you. You won. You leave. That's it. You only feel them there, you don't feel them anywhere else. And athletes live for those feelings. They train their whole lives for them. It's so rare. What is happiness really? The way I see it is when you experience certain feelings for a very short time. You can't be constantly happy, like you achieve something and then you're happy for years. It just doesn't work that way. The Almighty didn't build us that way. You get there, even when you become a champion and you fully feel that moment, you win. And then you wake up the next morning and that's it? Is that all I worked for? There's nothing more like that. So well, you become champion, you win, then you wake up the next day. That's it, your daily routine continues. It doesn't end. You've already got different things going on, different problems, other tasks now, and you're like, it all went by so fast. Then you wake up the next day, pack your bags, head to the airport, fly out, land back home, everyone's celebrating, and just like that, the next day everyone's gone, that's it. Everyone lives their own life.
So your life story began in the mountains of Dagestan and Sildi, then Kiravaul, and then Makhachkala. And in all these situations, there are very interesting stories. But one of the things I heard you say is that the best results are born out of the worst conditions. Philosophically, is it correct to say that comfort is kind of the enemy for champions?
When you live too well, let's say, you're never in need. For example, you were born into a wealthy family and you already have everything. Would that same wealthy father, would he force you to do such a brutal sport? A sport where you come home every day with injuries, where you come home with an exhausted body, you come home with bruises. Would he really do that? That's the question. And the kid himself, who lives a life of luxury, would he even want to do this? This is where you need that hunger. You have to be in a position where you are truly in need.
And it's interesting that there's a psychological side to this as well, that you need a tough situation to create champions.
And honestly, well, you just can't be born in these conditions, live here, stay here, and be mentally weak. You just have to be tough. There's no other way to survive. There are different paths. First, you build an amateur career just to get into the pros and go even further from there. Second, after you've made it into the pros, you become a champion. And third, after you become a champion, you have to stay there. Not everyone has what it takes. It is incredibly tough. If you look at the numbers, you can literally count these champions on one hand. How many of them are there? Maybe 15, 20, 30 people? Let's say 50 over the last 30 years. And how many have tried? For example, 50 achieved it over 30 years, over 35 years of MMA combat sports, but how many tried? Hundreds of thousands. And look at that number, such a tiny amount actually reached the end goal. So for you to actually make it into this tiny list, you really have to be like just a truly unique person and a fighter and a student, and a person who can accept guidance from a coach who, when they are being guided, discard the cons and take only the pros. But there are people who take criticism very hard and very negatively and are very sensitive, let's say, when they take criticism from a mentor. So it all has to click. And some accept criticism at the very beginning, but then once they become champions, it's hard for them to take it. I've always placed my only hope in the Almighty. Whatever situation I might face, I've always believed that only the Almighty can truly make it easier for me. And when it comes to not letting success go to your head, not becoming proud, not becoming full of yourself, religion and my faith in Allah have helped me with that too. I truly believe that only faith can help a person get through life's hardest trials. And sometimes I think about people who suffer the loss of a loved one, someone very close to them. For example, when I lost my father, I remember thinking to myself, if I didn't believe in the Almighty, if I didn't have faith in God and understand that it was predestined, that we all come into this world and then leave it, that no one stays here forever, that no one belongs to anyone and we all belong to the Almighty, and that we will all return to Him. I don't know how I would have coped with it. I'm a very emotional person. I think it would have been extremely difficult for me to go through all of that without faith. I know a couple of people who have lost someone very close to them and they struggle to accept it. They would ask, why? So many questions. I told them, to answer that question, you need to go deeper into religion and try to understand. Why were you even born in the first place? And why do these thoughts even come into your head? And what if you didn't have any thoughts at all? What if you couldn't think, couldn't understand anything? These thoughts, this awareness, your mind, your abilities, none of that was there before. Then it appeared. Why? That's the question. None of us existed. Then we were born, we were little, we weren't aware of anything, we didn't remember anything. Then little by little we grew up and became adults. We became successful, became somebody. We became who we are. So why did all of this come specifically to you? There are so many questions like that. And so these questions are, let's say, a kind of guide through life. And for me, that's what religion is. It guides me and helps me. That you're not nearly as important as the image you've created of yourself in your own mind. You start becoming more, as Americans say, down to earth.
Yes.
You become more grounded. You're not flying, you're walking on the ground.
You once put it beautifully. You can allow money and fame to stay in your hand, but not in your heart.
If money stays in your hands and not in your heart, that's a good thing. But the moment it gets into a person's heart, it corrupts them. Once it's there, it's very difficult to pull it out of your heart. If you have wealth in your hands and use it properly, for good causes, for the right purposes, for people in need, for your family, relatives, friends, people from your hometown, that's a good thing. But as soon as that wealth gets into your heart, it becomes very difficult to share it with others. And this is a very dangerous place for a person to end up.
Money and fame haven't changed you. You're just growing as a human being, as you always have.
I hope it's in the right direction. It's just, the thing is, people only see the good. They don't see the bad. And we all have the good side and the bad side. Everyone, sadly. And especially when it comes to celebrities, we only show the best side of ourselves. Even when you post photos, you only post the good ones, the pictures where you look your best. So I hope that the way people see me, as you pointed out, is the way I really am. Because it's difficult to judge yourself objectively. You're always biased when it comes to yourself. That's how it is. We tend to think highly of ourselves, right? You can't really see yourself objectively. We hide our flaws and put our best qualities on display. Sometimes people even start believing in a fake version of themselves. For me, I try to stay on the honest path throughout my life, to remain true to who I really am, and to show my true self to people. Maybe not everyone agrees with my behavior, my opinions, my worldview, or my attitudes toward sports, religion, and other things. Not everyone shares my views. Not everyone is a fan of mine. There are people who, let's say, see me very differently. So I've tried, I continue to try to be who I am, that's all. And I hope that my ending will be a good one too. Well, at least that's my hope.